Blood seeped into the earth, painting it a grim crimson as cries of agony and the grisly cacophony of carnage filled the air. A severed head rolled to a halt before a 3-year-old boy named Tampura, whose eyes were wide with terror. An unknown assailant was mercilessly decimating his clan. "No, what are you doing? Who are you?" he stammered. The malevolent figure turned towards Tampura, advancing slowly. The boy retreated, his heart pounding with fear and sorrow. The assailant regarded Tampura with a cold indifference and resumed the massacre, now slaying Tampura's parents before the boy's very eyes. Witnessing this, Tampura fled, tears streaming down his face. He spent hours weeping in the forest until an elderly couple, Ezra and Pab, discovered him. "Huh, what is a child doing all alone in the forest? Are you lost, my boy?" Pab exclaimed. Tampura continued to sob, prompting the couple to offer him refuge in their home. They served him some coffee, and Ezra sat beside him, her expression kind. "How are you feeling?" she inquired gently. Tampura remained silent, his young mind haunted by the day's horrors. Pab knelt beside him, his voice reassuring. "Listen, kid, you're safe here. Nothing will harm you, so tell us, what's wrong?" Tampura sighed, the weight of his grief palpable. "My mom, my dad, my family," he scoffed, the words barely a whisper. "They are all gone." As Tampura wept, the old couple's hearts ached with compassion, and they resolved to raise him as their own. Though Tampura's heart was shattered by the loss of his parents, he gradually found solace with the elderly couple. With each passing day, his resolve to avenge his family only grew stronger. 4 years had passed, and Tampura had grown much stronger than before. Now 7 years old, he possessed the power to level mountains with a mere shockwave from his fist. This newfound strength fueled his determination to confront the evildoer. He was often seen training with Pab in the fields, and after a rigorous session, he would sit, quenching his thirst with a bottle of water, his resolve as unyielding as ever. Tampura stood resolute, his young heart brimming with the readiness to confront the malevolent force that had shattered his world. With a deep inhalation, he clenched his fist, the air around him quivering with the gathering of his might. Exhaling, he unleashed his fury upon a nearby mountain, sending forth a cataclysmic shockwave that rent the stone asunder. Pab watched, astonishment etched upon his face. "Incredible," Pab gasped, his eyes wide with wonder. He examined Tampura's fist, seeking the secret of such devastating power, but Tampura merely chuckled at his curiosity. "It was easy," Tampura boasted with a grin, "I just released a shockwave to destroy the mountain." Pab nodded, his expression turning solemn. "I'm impressed, kid, I think you're ready, but before you leave..." From the depths of his belongings, Pab produced a sword of extraordinary length and craftsmanship, its aura hinting at a divine origin. "Take this," Pab intoned, offering the sword to Tampura. "I received this blade when I was about 18 years old. It was a gift from the gods, and now, I pass it to you. Please promise to never lose it, and promise me to take very good care of it." Tampura accepted the sword, his eyes reflecting its splendor. Overcome with gratitude, he embraced Pab tightly. "Thank you," Tampura cried, tears of joy streaming down his cheeks. "Thank you, thank you, thank you, Gramps." Ezra, who had been observing from a distance, approached and wrapped her arms around Tampura as well. "Please take care, and return to tell us the good news," she whispered. Tampura chuckled, a lightness in his voice. "I promise to be back with the good news." With heartfelt goodbyes exchanged, Tampura set off, casting a radiant smile back at the old couple, who stood hand in hand, their faces wet with tears of pride and joy. As Tampura vanished into the forest's embrace, he embarked on a journey that would test the very limits of his courage. Hours turned to shadows as Tampura traversed the wilderness, his path crossing with dinosaurs that soon became his prey. Eventually, he arrived at the place of his birth, the Grand Dimpra Kingdom, only to find it besieged by demons. Their grotesque forms, with flesh like charred leather, eyes like smoldering coals, and spines bristling with spikes, struck terror into his heart. Retreating a step, Tampura caught the attention of one demon, whose unearthly scream rallied the others to its side. Frightened yet defiant, Tampura faced the onslaught. When one demon lunged at him, he struck it with such force that it crashed against a rock, only to rise again, seething with rage. "I'm sorry," Tampura murmured, a gulp betraying his fear. He fled, the demon in hot pursuit, until they were alone, away from the demonic horde. "Now that we're away from your friends," Tampura said with a chuckle, "let's have a sparring match of our own." The demon, incensed, charged at Tampura, landing a heavy blow. Tampura staggered but retaliated with a gut-wrenching punch, forcing the demon back. They exchanged blows, their power evenly matched, their fists clashing with such force that the earth itself trembled. But as Tampura focused on his foe, more demons joined the fray, and he was quickly outnumbered. Just as the demons prepared to strike him down, a mysterious fog enveloped the scene, and an unknown figure whisked Tampura to safety. Within the mist, demons were flung aside as if by an invisible force. Confusion clouded Tampura's mind until the fog lifted, revealing a man clad in royal garb and a mask, standing victorious over the fallen demons. Tampura gazed at the stranger, curiosity burning within him, wondering who this masked savior could be. As Tampura gazed upon the mysterious man, a sense of awe washed over him. The man began to remove his mask slowly, and as he did, a formidable energy surged forth, enveloping the space between them. Tampura staggered, his senses overwhelmed by the sheer magnitude of power. "Ugh, what is that I'm feeling?" Tampura gasped, shock etching his features. "It feels like an enormous power level emanating from a single person." "Who are you, anyway?" "Name's Shikaka," the man replied, his voice resonating with an otherworldly timbre. "And who might you be?" "Oh me, I'm Tampura." Shikaka's eyes widened in disbelief, a flicker of recognition igniting within them. You are Tampura? Well yeah, you are Tampura, the son of Earth's king, Tashin," Shikaka said, a smile spreading across his face. "Your father was a good man, my boy. Not only was he your father, but he was also my master. After the massacre 4 years ago, things weren't the same without him. I had even started to believe you were dead, but thankfully, you're still alive." Tampura's confusion was palpable as he processed Shikaka's words. "Whoa, wait, so, I'm the son of Earth's king? Yes, and, and his name is Tashin. Also, your master? Yes, and now that he's gone, I was entrusted with the rights of being Earth's new king. So, I'm currently the king of Earth, and a god of Earth as well." "Wow," Tampura exclaimed, his surprise evident as he circled Shikaka, inspecting him from head to toe. Shikaka closed his eyes, smiling serenely, then playfully tugged at Tampura's ear. "Ouch, what is that for?" Tampura yelped. "You look exactly like your father. And just like him, you are brave. While others fled from the demons, you stood ready to fight them on your own. This makes you a great hero, just like your father." Emotions swelled within Tampura as he thought of his parents. Tears threatened to spill, but he embraced Shikaka tightly, seeking comfort. "I miss them. I miss mom and dad," he sobbed. You crying?" Shikaka asked, a hint of concern in his voice. Tampura wiped away his tears and offered a smile, though it soon faded. "You see, what happened years ago. It's too scary for me to recount, but what I can tell you is that my parents and entire family were slaughtered right in front of my eyes. I couldn't do anything. I'm such an idiot. I let them die," he cried out, despair lacing his words. "I just stood there, frozen, unable to move. If only I could turn back time and avenge my family, stop the evildoer from killing them. If I find that evildoer again, I promise to kill him and avenge my family." "The evildoer? You're probably talking about Genet 23, Shikaka said gravely. "The man who slaughtered your entire family and clan. Genet 23 is not easy to defeat, kid. He killed your family, your father, my master. Genet 23 has fought many gods and defeated them all. He is the strongest man in the universe, and you wouldn't stand a chance against him. You wouldn't even last a second against that guy. You don't know me," Tampura retorted with fierce determination. "I'll make him beg for mercy. I'll make him beg for forgiveness, and he will kneel before me with his hands folded. I'll kill that man. Don't risk yourself chasing after him, you'll just get hurt," Shikaka cautioned. "I may break my body, my soul, my bones, but I will never break my promise to kill Genet 23. I'll kill Genet 23, or my name isn't Tampura the Fallen Warrior." With a resolute expression, Tampura drew his sword and struck it into the ground. In that moment, as the blade pierced the earth, Shikaka saw not the boy before him, but the visage of Tashin, the fallen king, reflected in Tampura's unwavering spirit. As Shikaka's gaze melded the past with the present, seeing Tashin's legacy in Tampura's determined smile, the moment was shattered by a sudden strike. Shikaka's fist connected with Tampura's face, sending the boy flying meters away to crash against a nearby rock. Tampura rose, clutching his face in bewilderment. What was that for?" he asked, his voice tinged with confusion. "You aren't ready, my boy," Shikaka responded, his tone firm. "You can't even counter a simple punch from me. Therefore, you still need a lot of training to reach Genet 23's level." Brushing off the dust, Tampura attempted a sneak attack on Shikaka, but it was effortlessly dodged. Shikaka's counter was swift and precise, a punch to the stomach that left Tampura gasping for air, kneeling with his arms wrapped around his midsection. "You were pretty fast," Tampura managed to say between heavy breaths. "Yes, and I'd like to offer you some training at the Tampura Royal Palace, also known as the palace your father used to stay in," Shikaka offered. "Huh, training with a god? Amazing, count me in," Tampura exclaimed, his spirits lifted by the prospect. As they entered the kingdom, the villagers recoiled at the sight of Tampura. Their fear was palpable, causing Tampura to question their reaction. "Hey Shikaka, why are the people scared of me?" Tampura inquired. "Oh them, just ignore them, and let's start with training," Shikaka deflected, steering Tampura away from the villagers' wary eyes. Their training regimen was grueling, designed to push Tampura to his limits. They rose before dawn to meditate, followed by hours of swimming, strength exercises, and endurance training. Despite exhaustion, Tampura's resolve never wavered, fueled by the memory of Genet 23's cruelty. After a month of relentless training, Tampura's strength had grown exponentially. Yet, amidst his newfound power, he felt the pangs of loneliness. Venturing outside, he approached a group of children at play. Hi, I'm Tampura," he greeted them, his voice betraying his nervousness. The children's response was cold, their stares dismissive. Tampura's heart sank as he attempted to bridge the gap. "You see, I don't have any friends, so I was meaning to." One of the children, Jeff, laughed mockingly at Tampura's awkwardness. "So you want us to be your friend?" he sneered. "Yeah, so what do you guys say?" Tampura asked, hopeful despite the ridicule. "You are a complete idiot, kid, if you think we're gonna be friends with a weirdo," Jeff taunted. "So, is that a no?" Tampura pressed, seeking clarity amidst the scorn. The children encircled Tampura, and Jeff, eyeing the sword at Tampura's side, smirked sinisterly. "Well, I didn't say that it's a no. But, if you could give us that sword, then you'll be our friend," he proposed with a malevolent grin. I'm sorry, it appears that I can't do that. This sword means a lot to me," Tampura declined, his attachment to the sword unwavering. In a brash move, Jeff snatched the sword, igniting Tampura's fury. As Tampura's hand flew to his sword, ready to unleash his wrath, the sudden appearance of 5 demons behind the boy shifted the focus of his anger. Their malevolent gaze fixed on Tampura, a new confrontation loomed on the horizon. The children scattered like leaves in the wind, leaving Tampura alone to confront the demons. He stood his ground, an island of calm in the face of their seething anger. "You guys again," Tampura muttered, his voice steady. He surveyed the 5 demons before him, his resolve unshaken. "Let's get over with this already," he declared. As the demons lunged forward, Tampura's form blurred, reappearing behind them in a whisper of movement. His sword extended to the left at a precise 90 degrees angle. In the span of a heartbeat, the demons were cleaved into countless pieces, their demise instantaneous. Tampura, though victorious, felt the toll of the battle. He sank to one knee, breaths coming in heavy gasps. It wasn't easy pulling that trick off, he admitted, his gaze falling on the scattered remains of his foes. Among the debris, a peculiar object caught his eye, a blue apple, pulsating with a mysterious energy. Tampura reached out, his fingers closing around the fruit. As he examined it, his own reflection stared back at him from its gleaming surface, a look of bewilderment etched upon his features. What secrets did this strange apple hold? Tampura could only wonder as he clutched the enigmatic treasure. Before he could even devour its smooth surface, Shikaka emerged from the shadows and seized the fruit from Tampura's grasp. Tampura, his brow furrowed in confusion, demanded, "What is the meaning of this?" Shikaka, with a gravity that belied the calm in his voice, replied, "Tampura, this apple is not safe for consumption, trust me." Perplexed, Tampura pressed, What do you mean? This is the true apple of life," Shikaka explained, endowed with immense power. Those who partake of it will find their strength magnified beyond their wildest imaginings. Yet, it harbors a malevolent force, capable of corrupting the purest of hearts, turning them evil and cold-blooded. This apple is not safe, Tampura. Memories of his family's brutal demise flooded Tampura's mind, and he looked up at Shikaka with a resolute gaze. "To avenge my family, I am prepared to embrace the darkness. I am willing to become what I must." Shikaka's voice softened. "No, I implore you not to tread the path of malevolence. It is a road paved with death and regret. I have walked it, and I cannot bear to see you suffer the same fate." Tampura's thoughts drifted to that fateful night when Jenna 23 extinguished the lives of his parents. Anger clenched his fist tight as Shikaka departed, leaving him to grapple with the ghosts of his past and the dark legacy of his clan's annihilation. As he gathered his composure, the villagers encircled him, their faces twisted in anger. Tampura's heart raced, confusion clouding his thoughts, as a young boy named Jeff stepped forward, pointing an accusing finger. "It's him. He's the one who tried to kill me." Tampura greeted the boy with a nod. "Oh, hello there." A villager, consumed by fury, hurled a stone at Tampura, who caught it effortlessly, his bewilderment growing. "I'm quite certain that throwing rocks at someone's face is dangerous." The villager spat back. "So are you." The crowd erupted, hurling accusations and insults at Tampura, who attempted to explain the misunderstanding with Jeff. But their words were venomous, branding him as disgusting, rude, and a worthless orphan. The barrage of insults bore down on him, igniting a headache that spun his world into dizziness. He covered his ears, tears welling in his eyes, as he sought refuge from their cruelty. It was then that Shikaka reappeared, standing protectively before Tampura, his back to the boy and his gaze fixed on the hostile crowd. The silence that followed was deafening. "Why the sudden quiet?" Shikaka's voice boomed. "It seems Tampura is unwelcome here. You've all judged him without a trial." He approached Jeff's mother, his eyes locking onto hers with an unsettling calm. "Who among you will do it? Who will end Tampura's life?" The villagers remained silent, their resolve faltering under Shikaka's intense scrutiny. Shikaka's lips curled into a sardonic smile. "Go on, then, I'm waiting." He turned to Jeff's mother, his voice dripping with challenge. "What about you, madam? Do you feel brave now? I dare you, end his suffering. Do it." His shout echoed through the village, leaving the crowd paralyzed with fear. Shikaka's gaze swept over them. "Look at yourselves. No one stands with the boy. And why? Because he's an orphan, the son of a demon. But heed my words. His mother may be a demon, but his father is a god, the very god who saved you all. Cross this child again, and you will face a wrath like no other." The villagers, chastened and silent, could only watch as Shikaka's protective shadow loomed over Tampura, a boy caught between the legacy of gods and demons. As the sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with strokes of crimson and gold, Tampura and Shikaka retreated from the world's prying eyes. They delved into the rigors of their training, each movement a silent conversation between master and pupil. As the stars claimed the heavens, they ceased their dance of discipline and allowed themselves a moment of respite. Tampura, his voice tinged with the weight of unspoken thoughts, broke the silence. "Master Shikaka, about what you mentioned earlier, my mother." Shikaka nodded, his gaze steady. "Yes, she was a demon, one who once served under Jenna 23. But love has a way of rewriting destinies. Upon meeting your father, her heart chose a different path. She renounced her allegiance to Jenna 23 to forge a life with him. Though she bore the title of demon, her spirit was kind. Yet, the world often fails to see beyond labels, judging her as they would any other demon. Your mother was an exception, a testament to the fact that one should never judge a book by its cover." Tampura absorbed the words, a newfound understanding dawning within him. "I understand, Master. I wish to ask your permission to return home, if only for a short while." "I promise to return." Shikaka's brow furrowed in confusion. "But Tampura, this is your home." "Yes, but there is an elderly couple who took me under their wing for 4 years. They are kind souls, and I wish to share with Grandpa Pab the strength I have gained. He will swell with pride." Shikaka's expression softened, and he gave a gentle nod. "Very well, you may go. But remember the lessons you've learned, and let them guide you, even in the warmth of familiar embrace." With Shikaka's blessing, Tampura set out under the watchful eyes of the night, his heart buoyed by the prospect of reunion, yet anchored by the gravity of his lineage, a lineage woven from the threads of gods and demons, love and betrayal, strength and compassion. With Shikaka's consent echoing in his ears, Tampura's heart swelled with gratitude, and he offered thanks with such fervor it seemed he might never stop. He then dashed off, his feet barely touching the ground as he raced towards the place he once called home. Along the way, he chanced upon a tree, its branches heavy with apples, their freshness a promise of the earth's bounty. With a chuckle of delight, Tampura gathered them into a bag, thinking of Grandpa Pab's joy at the sight. Beneath the same tree, blooms of exquisite beauty caught his eye. He carefully picked them, placing them in another bag, a gift for Grandma Ezra. His journey resumed, and even a chance encounter with a dinosaur could not deter him. He subdued the beast with ease, envisioning a feast with the old couple. The familiar silhouette of the house appeared on the horizon, and Tampura's steps quickened. Upon arrival, he knelt and kissed the ground, a gesture of reverence for the place that had sheltered him. Finally, home sweet home, he exclaimed. With the dinosaur left at the doorstep, Tampura held the apples and flowers close as he called out to his adoptive grandparents. But as the door swung open, the joy drained from his face, replaced by sheer terror. The sight that greeted him was one of horror, the old couple suspended in the air, the sinister Jenna 23 holding them in his merciless grip. Tampura's past, dark and tumultuous, flashed before his eyes as Jenna 23 executed a brutal display of power. Tampura could only watch, paralyzed with fear, as the life was cruelly ripped from those he held dear. The villain's taunts were poison, urging Tampura to unleash the fury within. And unleash he did. A scream tore from his throat, a sound so primal it shook the very foundations of the house. A dark, red aura enveloped him, the manifestation of his demonic heritage, and with it, a power that sent everything around him into disarray. Jenna 23 watched with a chuckle, his amusement clear as he witnessed the awakening of Tampura's demonic aura. But the battle that ensued was one-sided. Jenna 23 evaded each of Tampura's blows with ease, toying with the boy as if he were nothing more than a plaything. Eventually, Jenna 23 grew bored, striking Tampura down with a series of devastating blows. As he stood over the defeated boy, his disdain was palpable. "What a disappointment," he sneered. "I expected a battle for the ages, but you're just a child, a weakling. Don't even dream of challenging me again until you've grown strong." With those final words, Jenna 23 stepped through a portal, leaving Tampura alone with his grief and rage. Tampura's voice, filled with a mix of confusion and anger, called out to the retreating figure, Who are you?" "I am Jenna 23, came the reply, the voice echoing from the portal. "The god of evil, master of demons, king of the demon realm. Today, I've done you a favor. By killing your loved ones, I've unlocked your true power. Imagine if I hadn't." Tampura's sorrow turned to fury. "You'll pay for this," he vowed, but it was too late. Jenna 23 had vanished, leaving Tampura to grapple with the overwhelming power that surged within him and the haunting emptiness of his loss. In the aftermath of Jenna 23's cruel departure, Tampura collapsed to his knees amidst the ruins of what was once a sanctuary of love. His cries pierced the silence, a raw outpouring of grief for the old couple who had been his anchor in a tumultuous sea. With trembling hands, he laid their remains to rest in the earth's tender embrace, the backyard transforming into hallowed ground. Atop the freshly turned soil, he placed the apples and flowers, a silent testament to his gratitude and a poignant farewell. "Thank you," he whispered, his voice barely carrying above the whisper of the wind. "Without you, my path might have led to darkness. You will be remembered, Grandpa Pab, Grandma Ezra. May the Valkyries escort you to Valhalla, where Odin awaits with open arms. Rest in peace." With a heavy heart, Tampura gathered his belongings and sought solace in the company of Shikaka. Upon his arrival, the master sensed the sorrow that clung to Tampura like a shroud. "Tampura, are you all right?" Shikaka inquired, concern etching his features. "It's Jenna 23, he has struck again," Tampura replied, his voice a mix of despair and resolve. Shikaka's eyes narrowed. "You encountered him. He murdered the old couple," Tampura said, the words fueling his determination. "I will avenge them. He will rue the day he crossed paths with me." Shikaka nodded solemnly. "I understand your pain. I will aid you in your quest for strength, and together, we will bring Jenna 23 to justice." Their training resumed with renewed intensity, each day a step closer to Tampura's goal. After a month of rigorous discipline, Tampura found himself alone in the fields, honing his skills, when a shuriken whistled past, embedding itself in a tree. Startled, he scanned his surroundings, only to be ambushed by a masked assailant. The girl was swift, her attacks a blur, but Tampura matched her speed, parrying each strike until he seized her fist and, with a swift motion, unveiled her identity. Red hair framed her face, brown eyes met his, and her lips, a vibrant red, parted in surprise. Tampura's cheeks flushed with an unexpected warmth, but the moment was shattered as she delivered a swift kick, leaving him reeling in agony. As he regained his composure, Tampura couldn't help but wonder who this mysterious girl was, and what twist of fate had brought her crashing into his life. Tampura's eyes widened in surprise as Gwen's identity unfolded before him. "That kind of hurts, you know," he said, rubbing the spot where her kick had landed. "And who are you? What are you doing here?" "I'm Gwen," she replied with a hint of defiance. "And who might you be?" "Oh, me, I'm Tampura. Well, my name is Tampura but, yeah. I'm Tampura, he stammered, his nervousness palpable. Gwen raised an eyebrow. You're getting nervous. Yeah, I don't usually talk to girls, Tampura confessed, his cheeks flushing. It's actually my first time. So where's the king of the Tampura kingdom? Where's King Shikaka? Gwen inquired, her tone shifting to one of urgency. He's inside, Tampura said, recovering from his embarrassment. You can come meet him. Taking Gwen's hand, Tampura led her into the house, only to be met with a scene that left him baffled. An older woman, bearing a striking resemblance to Gwen, stood before them. Gwen's cry of "Mom" confirmed the familial connection, sending Tampura's thoughts into a whirlwind of confusion. What's going on here? Tampura asked, trying to piece together the sudden turn of events. Gwen turned to her mother, Radara, with a pout. Mom, this boy broke my mask. Do something about him. Radara's gaze softened. Don't worry, dear, I'll deal with him later. Shikaka's voice broke through the tension. Radara, why are you back? Radara approached Shikaka with a remorseful expression. I came to apologize for leaving you all those years ago, and for taking your only daughter away from you. She's lived a life without knowing her father, and for that, I am truly sorry. I've decided to return and become your wife again. As Shikaka looked down at Gwen, who was now hiding behind Radara, his eyes filled with emotion. Gwen rushed to Shikaka, embracing him tightly. Shikaka's mind wandered back to the days when Radara was pregnant with Gwen, a time filled with hope and anticipation. I have a daughter, Shikaka exclaimed, his voice choked with joy. I always wanted a daughter. Therefore, I shall make you my princess, and your mother my queen. Please, never leave me again. I love you both. Tampura watched the reunion, a smile breaking through his earlier confusion. So she's your daughter then, he chuckled, turning to Gwen. And sorry for earlier, Gwen. His apology was sincere, a gesture of goodwill amidst the unfolding drama of the Tampura kingdom. After Tampura apologized to Gwen for ruining her mask, he offered his hand to her with a smile on his face. Gwen looked at Tampura's hand with repulsion, then stood next to him and whispered in his left ear, just to let you know, I don't like you, and mark my words, I'll have you kicked out of this house in a matter of 24 hours. Tampura was speechless as Gwen walked away and ran to her mother, Radara. Mom, I'm hungry. You said that father would serve us some delicious food, Gwen said sweetly. Don't worry, honey, Radara replied, your father will definitely get you some delicious food to eat. Am I right? She looked at Shikaka. Well, yeah, Shikaka said with a smile, anything for my princess. Oh, I'd like to have what she's having, Tampura chimed in. No, only I can have it. Not you, Gwen snapped angrily. Hee, please Master Shikaka, Tampura pleaded. It's fine, my boy, Shikaka said, you can also have what she's having. No, only I can have it, not him. Gwen shouted. Tampura began to laugh as Gwen glared at him with anger in her eyes. He looked back at her with a sinister look. No need to be a crybaby, Gwen. Now that you're here, we can all be family and share with one another. Tampura walked to her, stood on her left, and whispered in her ear, Game on, Gwen. Game on. He smiled sinisterly. Gwen got angry and tried to punch Tampura, but he dodged her fist and hugged her tightly, making it seem like they weren't fighting but bonding instead. I always wanted to have a friend. Guess you're my friend from today onwards, Tampura said with a grin. Gwen's inner voice screamed, well played, Tampura, well played. Tampura's inner voice responded, you shouldn't have challenged me, Gwen. I've dealt with demons before, and you're nothing to me. So prepare to suffer. That evening, Shikaka had prepared a great feast for everyone. Upon seeing this, Tampura was excited. As everyone started to eat, Tampura pulled a huge chunk of meat from the turkey and ate it like a barbarian, spilling gravy on his clothes while the rest ate like professionals. He stuffed his face with the food on the table and grabbed the juice. Just as he was about to drink it, Gwen snatched it from his hands, and they argued over who should have it. Tampura pulled a smart move by letting go of the drink, causing it to spill all over Gwen. How dare you? Gwen yelled. Tampura chuckled. Hee, you wanted some juice, so I gave you juice. Furious, Gwen threw a huge tantrum. Daddy, he spoiled my outfit. Don't worry, princess, I'll fix that for you, Shikaka said. No, I want Tampura out of here, right now. Gwen screamed. Whoa, we can talk about this, Gwen. Tampura tried to calm her down. Now, Gwen cried. Shikaka was confused, looking down at Tampura, who didn't want to leave, and then at Gwen, who was crying. Rhaedyra decided to step in, looking furious. Shikaka, Gwen is your daughter. Would you really hesitate to do what she asks of you? Well, I'll do it for her then. I want you to kick that good-for-nothing boy Tampura out of the house. It shouldn't be a task throwing him out, considering that he's not your son nor blood at all. So just do it, throw him out of here. As Rhaedyra insisted that Tampura should be kicked out, Shikaka looked down at Tampura, thinking of the moments they had shared and the memories with Tampura's father, Tashin. He also thought of Gwen, his daughter whom he had just reunited with after a long time. Finally, he came to a decision. Tampura, Shikaka began, Gwen is my daughter, and I'm willing to do anything for her because I love her. But you, Tampura, are like a son to me. I've promised to protect you, and therefore, you'll be staying right here in this palace. You're not going anywhere. Gwen tried to protest, but, no buts, Shikaka interrupted sternly. Please don't take advantage of my kindness. Rhaedyra's eyes blazed with anger. Oh wow, Shikaka, so you're going to let this ill-mannered child stay in this palace? Yes, Shikaka replied firmly. And he's not ill-mannered. He's kind and caring, but you just hate him for no reason. No reason, Rhaedyra retorted. This boy tried to pick a fight with your daughter, your own flesh and blood. Instead of siding with your daughter, you side with this child. So let's make this clear, Shikaka. Either you kick Tampura out of here, or we leave of our own accord, and I promise you will never see us again. I suppose you wouldn't want to lose a daughter now, would you? Shikaka was shocked by Rhaedyra's ultimatum. He began to think everything through, looking at Tampura and remembering Tashin, then looking at Gwen and thinking of Rhaedyra. After a long moment of contemplation, Shikaka walked over to Tampura and held his hand. Tampura smiled, but this only made Gwen and Rhaedyra angrier. What Shikaka said next changed everything. Listen, kid, Shikaka said, looking at Tampura. This will only be for a couple of hours. I ask you to please go to the old couple's home for a while. I promise to visit you. At that moment, Tampura felt heartbroken. Tears streamed down his face, but he wiped them away with his arm and smiled at Shikaka. Hee, okay then, it was good knowing you. Thanks for taking care of me. Everyone was confused by Tampura's smile, not realizing he was hiding his pain behind a fake mask. From the outside, he seemed normal, but inside, he was in great pain. He packed his things and left, with Shikaka sad to see him go while Gwen and Rhaedyra smiled at the door. Don't forget to visit me, Master, Tampura said with a forced smile. As Tampura walked past Gwen, he heard her giggling. He walked for hours alone in the forest, crying and thinking of the moments he had spent with his master. When he arrived at the old couple's home, he saw how dusty the place was, and everything reminded him of them. He sat down, crying, and never stopped thinking about how the old couple had died. It was then that a dark portal opened outside, and Tampura sensed a familiar energy, an energy of darkness and pure evil. He ran outside to see 10 demons stepping out of the portal, led by Jenna 23, who seemed serious this time. You have some nerve coming back here, Tampura growled, standing in a battle position. Tampura Tashinson, Jenna 23 said, I've decided to build an army of demon gods. I already have your sister with me, but I must still capture you and your missing older brother. My brother is alive, Tampura asked, shocked. Yes, but he's hiding somewhere. Anyways, I won't waste any time. Tampura, you're coming with us. With those words, the demons charged at Tampura. He pulled out his sword and swiftly killed the demons, moving with incredible speed. After slaying all 10 demons, he focused on Jenna 23, who stood there calmly. Tampura charged at him, but Jenna 23 dodged with ease and knocked him behind the head, causing Tampura to pass out. Jenna 23 picked him up and teleported away, leaving Tampura's sword behind. As that was happening, meanwhile at the Dimpra Palace, Shikaka sat in his room, regretting kicking Tampura out of the house. Rhaedyra and Gwen walked in. Hey Shikaka, Rhaedyra said with a smug smile. I'm proud of you. You sided with your daughter instead of some low class. That's enough, Shikaka interrupted. Aren't you done saying bad things about Tampura? Just please stop. So you are still on his side then? Rhaedyra asked, her tone sharp. Shikaka sighed. What do you want to hear from me? Tell me, what is it you want from me? I'm asking you something, Rhaedyra said, her voice rising. So answer me, are you still on Tampura's side? Shikaka's eyes narrowed. The real question is, what do I see in Tampura that I don't see in you and Gwen? Listen very closely. Tampura is the child of prophecy, the boy who'll save us from Genet 23. He's also the son of my master, the same master who has saved you countless times. But I'm your... Gwen started. I'm not talking to you, I'm talking to your mom, Shikaka snapped. Gwen is right, Rhaenyra said. She's your daughter and Tampura is just... Just what? Huh, finish your sentence. I'm curious to know what you wanted to say, Shikaka challenged. Tampura has lived a harder life than your daughter. He witnessed his clan getting slaughtered by an evildoer at age 3, which traumatized him. He was then raised by an old couple, finding love and comfort in them, but just as he thought everything was okay, the same evildoer returned and slaughtered the old couple in front of him. Tampura once again witnessed his loved ones getting killed. I decided to take him in as my own so that I could train him to become stronger and avenge his family. Wherever Tampura is now, he's alone, sad, and probably in trouble. So you see, Tampura isn't a bad person, and the reason why he smiled before leaving is because he didn't want us to see how sad he was. Gwen realized how selfish she had been to Tampura and began to feel guilty for what she did. Rhaenyra, on the other hand, couldn't care less and smiled after hearing what Shikaka said. Well, I don't care and he probably got what he deserved anyway, Rhaenyra said dismissively. Oh no, I've made a mistake, Gwen said, her voice trembling. I was too jealous of him getting more attention from you that I went too far by getting him kicked out. I'm sorry, I never realized how hard it was for him. Shikaka softened. I'm glad you realized your mistake, but it's not too late to apologize to him. Thanks, Papa, Gwen said, tears in her eyes. I promise to apologize to him today and bring him back home. Shikaka was proud of Gwen's words. But Rhaenyra stepped in, looking furious. I'm so disappointed in you, Gwen. I never raised you to be like this. I don't believe you're my daughter. And I don't believe you're my mother, Gwen retorted. With those words, Gwen and Shikaka left, leaving Rhaenyra furious. She began to break things out of anger. While breaking things, she dropped a blade that seemed dark red and contained a lot of evil energy. She was confused about what the blade could mean, but holding it, she thought of how Gwen had talked to her all because of Shikaka and Tampura. For the first time ever, my daughter was rude to me, all because of Shikaka and Tampura, Rhaenyra muttered, her eyes darkening. I'll make those two pay for this, and I'll make sure of it. Meanwhile, Gwen and Shikaka finally arrived at Tampura's home after a long walk, only to find the house on fire and Tampura nowhere to be seen. They searched everywhere but couldn't find him. Instead, Shikaka picked up Tampura's sword lying on the ground, knowing very well that Tampura wouldn't leave it behind because it meant something to him. Gwen cried her tears out, blaming herself for Tampura's disappearance, while Shikaka stood there in shock, speechless. As Shikaka and Gwen were heartbroken over Tampura's disappearance, a portal suddenly opened, releasing a horde of demons charging towards them. Shikaka saw this and didn't waste any time, immediately engaging in battle. He fought fiercely, beating the demons with unmatched skill and strength. When he finished off the first wave, 5 more demons appeared through teleportation. Shikaka fought them as well, pulling out his staff and stabbing it into the ground. Rocks rose and formed a massive rock hammer at the tip of the staff, which he used to smash 3 demons to death. While he was focused on them, he saw 2 more demons charging towards Gwen. In a flash, he appeared in front of them and smashed them to death. Why did those demons try to attack us? Gwen asked, bewildered. I don't know, Gwen, Shikaka replied, his voice filled with anger. But what I do know is that Genet 23 is here. I can sense him. As he spoke, a red death beam narrowly missed Shikaka's face and struck a nearby mountain, blasting it into smithereens. Shikaka turned to find Genet 23 standing there, smiling sinisterly. Hello, Shikaka, Genet 23 greeted with a wicked grin. Genet 23, Shikaka roared, tell me, where is Tampura? Genet 23 chuckled, oh, the kid, he could be dead or alive. So, how's life treating you? Tell me where Tampura is. Shikaka demanded, his anger boiling over. Shikaka prepared his hammer for an attack, glaring at Genet 23 with fury. But Genet 23 seemed to enjoy the situation, smiling at him. Just tell me, damn it. Shikaka shouted, swinging his hammer at Genet 23. But Genet 23 stopped it with one finger, releasing a small energy blast that destroyed the entire hammer. Shikaka stood in a battle position, and in the blink of an eye, he appeared behind Genet 23, delivering a hard punch to the back of his head. However, Genet 23 wasn't fazed at all and just yawned, making Shikaka even angrier. Shikaka launched more attacks, but Genet 23 stood still. After many attacks, Genet 23 grabbed Shikaka's fist and blasted him away. The blast seemed normal, but coming from Genet 23, it left a huge scar on Shikaka's left arm. Panting, Shikaka asked, "Where's Tampura?" He coughed, struggling to stay on his feet. Genet 23 smirked. "That kid Tampura is really stubborn. I guess all gods don't intend to give up. Stop beating around the bush already." Shikaka growled. Genet 23's eyes shifted to Gwen. "What do we have here?" Shikaka quickly appeared in front of Gwen at blazing speed, pointing his staff at Genet 23. "Don't you dare. If you lay a hand on her, I'll murder you alive. I promise to haunt you even if you're dead, and I'll make sure you experience fear." "Such bravery," Genet 23 mocked. "You talk to me as if you're stronger than me." Genet 23 backhanded Shikaka across the face, then looked at Gwen, who seemed scared and walked away from her. "How about I tell you this?" Genet 23 said with a sinister smile. "After a long search, I finally found and recruited a new demon to join me. This demon is no ordinary demon, it's labeled as one of my strongest demons in hell. Hope you're ready to see him, Shikaka." Shikaka stood up, curious to know what Genet 23 was up to. Genet 23 opened a dark portal, and what stepped out left Shikaka and Gwen shocked. It was Tampura, surrounded by a demonic aura, looking furious. Tampura," Shikaka stammered. Shikaka ran to Tampura, wanting to give him a hug, but Tampura punched him hard in the stomach and then looked at Gwen with anger in his eyes. Genet 23 stood next to Tampura, rubbing his hand on his head while laughing at Shikaka. "I introduce to you my demon, Tampura Tashinson," Genet 23 announced with glee. Tampura looked at Gwen and Shikaka with pure hatred, seeming bloodthirsty and eager to kill them. As Tampura seemed really pissed off at Gwen and Shikaka, he slowly walked towards them, but Genet 23 managed to stop him from going any further. "What did you do to him?" Shikaka demanded, his voice filled with rage. "Nothing much," Genet 23 replied with a sinister grin. "I just cast a spell on him, and now he's under my control. My plan to build a perfect army of demons is almost coming true. Tampura, kill these fools." With that command, Tampura's demonic aura flared up, and he charged towards both Gwen and Shikaka. He first targeted Gwen, but Shikaka stepped in the way and blocked his punch, looking him in the eyes. "Try to remember me, and who you are. You are Tampura Tashinson. Genet 23 is the man you want to kill. He slaughtered your entire clan and the old couple. So please remember who." Before Shikaka could finish his sentence, Tampura blasted him aside. Shikaka landed on his knees, slowly wiping the bloodstain from his mouth. Tampura went berserk, destroying everything around him. He launched a shockwave at Gwen, but Shikaka quickly appeared in front of the attack and blocked it with both arms. "You've left me with no choice, Tampura," Shikaka said, his voice filled with determination. Shikaka then gained a very bright and white aura that shone throughout the planet. His eyes glowed white, and his energy increased to a whole new level. He looked at Tampura calmly, like something majestic. "This is my full power," Shikaka declared. "It's known as God Mode. You've left me with no other options but to fight you." Tampura charged full speed towards Shikaka, but Shikaka quickly punched him hard in the stomach before he could get any closer. Tampura struggled to breathe as Shikaka delivered more punches, causing Tampura to crash into a nearby mountain. Tampura stood back up, looking at Shikaka with anger. He charged again, but Shikaka pulled out his staff and struck him. Tampura took a couple of steps back, then charged again, but Shikaka punched him aside and looked down at him, ready to fight. "Remember, Tampura, remember," Shikaka urged. Shikaka's words triggered a memory in Tampura. He remembered the last time he saw Shikaka as he left the house with a smile. Tampura fell to his knees, holding his head in an aggressive way. He tried to fight Genet 23's spell but couldn't win. He screamed at the top of his lungs while crying, and Shikaka saw that he was trying to remember. But when Shikaka got closer, Tampura snapped and punched the Earth's surface with full force, causing a massive shockwave to the core, making the planet start breaking apart. Shikaka immediately placed his hands on the ground, using his Earth element to stabilize the planet and maintain its balance. Tampura charged towards Shikaka, punching him in the face, but Shikaka wasn't fazed. He delivered a punch of his own to Tampura's face, grabbed him by the arm, and slammed him to the ground, pinning him. "Tampura, please remember who you are. You are Tampura Tashinson, just remember, god damn it." Shikaka pleaded. As Shikaka had Tampura pinned down, trying to convince him to snap out of it, Tampura boosted his energy and looked at Shikaka, who now seemed to have lost hope. I give up, Shikaka growled. Maybe I need to knock some sense into you. Shikaka struck his staff on the ground, forming a massive rock hammer at the tip. The rock transformed into white lightning, emanating from Shikaka's god mode power. He had now formed a cosmic earth hammer and was ready to smash Tampura. But Gwen, seeing that Tampura was about to get hurt, hugged him tightly, tears streaming down her face. I'm sorry, Tampura, Gwen cried. I'm sorry for what I did. It's my fault that you are like this now. I'm sorry. Tampura, furious, tried to break free from Gwen's hug, but something in him felt sorry for her as he saw her crying. He stopped struggling. Please, Tampura, Gwen continued, sobbing. Please don't leave us. We all love you, we all care about you. I don't want to lose you, Tampura. Please come back to us. I don't want to lose you, I don't want to lose you. Gwen's words triggered memories in Tampura, memories of when he first met Gwen, the last time he saw her, and their arguments. Slowly, he began to remember everything, and Jenna 23 looked curious. You see, growing up, I never had a father, just like you, Gwen said, her voice trembling. So I know how you feel. Not being loved, and because of my selfishness, I tried to take away your happiness. But I'm sorry, I'm very sorry. Tampura's demonic aura faded as he returned to his senses and passed out. Gwen sat there with Tampura, and Shikaka smiled at them both. His eyes then shifted to Jenna 23, who stood with his arms crossed. I've had enough of you, Shikaka declared. I'll kill you. Shikaka charged towards Jenna 23 with the cosmic earth hammer, but just as he was about to strike, Jenna 23 dodged and appeared behind Shikaka, delivering a backhand slap that sent Shikaka flying. Jenna 23 then flicked Shikaka's forehead with one finger, causing him to crash to the ground. Jenna 23 looked down at Shikaka, Tampura, and Gwen with little concern. What I did today was just a small sample of what I can really do, Jenna 23 said. I wasn't focused on building an army of demons. I was testing Tampura's strength. But now I've seen it all. He's too weak to be a challenge for me. Therefore, I've decided that when I return, I'll kill Tampura. So keep your heads up high, because you won't know when I'll return. I'm like the clouds in the sky, sometimes they fall, sometimes they don't. You wouldn't know exactly when it would rain or not, so keep your heads up high. With that, Jenna 23 vanished into nothingness. Gwen woke Tampura up, and he smiled at her. So you don't want to lose me, Tampura said with a smirk. I knew you wouldn't hate me forever. Gwen, angry, punched Tampura hard on the shoulder, then hugged him again, tears of joy streaming down her face. You are full of jokes. Hee hee, I missed you, Gwen, Tampura said, grinning. I missed you too, Tampura, Gwen replied, her voice filled with emotion. With that, Gwen and Tampura stood up and walked with Shikaka towards the Dimpra kingdom. The chapter ends with Tampura, Gwen, and Shikaka walking into the sunset, happy and united.